Morning, everyone. The reading selected today was from Morning of Light, The Spiritual Path by White Eagle. And it's entitled The Miracle of Light. You may have asked us why the divine Creator has decreed that the souls of men must leave a land of heavenly bliss to journey down into the world, and why that individualized soul of every man must presently, by its own effort, struggle back again to the heavenly places. You believe that if you knew the reason for your suffering and limitation, it would give you a new incentive and purpose. Naturally, there is a purpose when souls, breathed forth by the Creator, are directed down through the spheres to this dark earth. A very grand purpose. When individual man at last glimpses the plan for the spiritual nurture and evolution of God's child, himself, herself, he will live in peace and patience, for then his soul will rise to touch again the fringe of heaven. We can never overemphasize the reality and constancy of the divine love and care of God for each human soul, the wonderful, all-enfolding love which is far beyond all earthly understanding. It is a paradox that because of this very love, the little spark of the human soul is sent forth on its long journey earthwards. For if the soul did not descend into the darkness of matter, it might never become conscious of itself or of its latent powers, or ultimately conscious of its God. Excuse me. This, in a few simple words, explains the real purpose of the soul's journey. For under pressure from the darkness of earth in time, it gradually opens, as a seed sown in the soil does under rain, warmth, and sunlight. In other words, the pressure of so-called hardness, stress, and evil working upon that seed or soul forces growth from the unconscious into the conscious state. Through many ages, it grows and becomes ultimately master of matter, master of itself, and fully conscious in matter of the light and love of God. So far as this earth plane is concerned, the soul must master its weaknesses, both of the flesh and the emotions. It must do so because it is essential to its purpose. When it has learned self-mastery, then at last it is free. It has become fully God-conscious, and so become at one with the Father while yet on earth. So you will see that there is indeed a purpose, a grand plan in the hands of the great architect of the universe, a plan which is detailed and beautiful in order and in design. You must learn to have patience and confidence in God. Should you suffer any injustice, real or apparent, always try to remember that all human life is governed by divine law and divine love. And there is no innocent or wanton suffering. You appear to suffer unjustly, but only because you have yet to develop clear vision or clairvoyance, which can reveal your past and future. Until you have done so, you cannot recognize the outworking of spiritual law which is taking place, or see the play of unseen forces upon your being, nor can you understand the setting in which you, a jewel from the Father's crown, have been placed. No man can escape either the joy or pain which he has earned. Man is like a magnet, and like a magnet attracts to himself that which is himself. This is inescapable law. In other words, he attracts to himself conditions similar to those which he constantly creates within himself, and which he is ever externalizing from himself. We would speak particularly about fear, because fear corrodes and consumes the happiness of a vast number of human beings. Fear of life, fear of the future, fear of loss, fear of ill health, fear of separation from loved ones, and above all, fear of death. Fear seems to be the greatest enemy of mankind, and the first thing that man must strive for is to overcome his fear. How can poor earth man, with all his pressing worries and problems, prevail against fear? There is only one way, my brethren, and this is to withdraw from the daily conflict for short periods, but constantly. We mean by this that man has to learn to become as a little child, and if he finds it helpful, even to go down on his knees, or at least to bow his head in prayer and thanksgiving to his Heavenly Father. He must daily withdraw from the turmoil of his outer existence and seek the place of silence within his own being. Here he will be brought into contact with God, the great white Spirit, because the little spark of spirit within his own being will be reached, be responsible to that infinite and eternal, that sweet and holy power. This experience cannot come to any man by reading books or studying the history of the nations or studying the religions of all time. It can only come to man as he endeavors to seek that silent power, that gentle, pure love, which he will find deep within his heart. A brother of the great white light, which is the Christ light, fears nothing, because he is secure in his knowledge of the love of God. In spirit there is no separation. In spirit there is no sickness or darkness. In spirit there is no fear. What have you to fear? Do you fear separation from a loved one? If you are in tune with the infinite Spirit, death holds no terrors. We say also to anyone who may feel fearful about sickness or about surrendering their body to medical attention, have no fear, because we assure you that your fear will not happen. And whatever experience you are called upon to go through, if you will look to the angelic helpers who are around you, they will bear you up through whatever ordeal lies before you. You will be amazed how little you have suffered and how beautifully the spiritual power has helped you on your journey. Be comforted, my children. Be of good cheer. Watch and pray. And as the Master said, love much, love all. Cherish a feeling of love in your heart towards all life, and above all towards God, and you will be raised up, blessed, and comforted.